welcome to my lovely IHP community and the 5D Collective. To those who are new, our collective are non-traumatized, securely attached people, whether earned or without losing the inner child adult. And so we do mindset, mindfulness, and mindsight practices. We live self-empowered lives, and with mysticism, we get anima, mundi, God, Holy Spirit, Reiki master, all of it. Akashic record reader, you name it. And science and spirituality come together to talk about consciousness and the relational field. And for me, it's not confusing because the 5D collective has bilateral vertical overall integration. So we're able to chit chat about it all. And it's called also consilience approach. And we have a good time together because of living in a state of authentic connection to our true self. And so as inner child adults, we thrive alone and with other. And that's thanks to being empowered mystics and mindfully living and loving people who enjoy authentic relationships and therefore mindfully listening and with the capacity of compassion and compassionate curiosity. So with that, I wanted to share a story more than anything because I want to start to do a little bit of storytelling as we are now very clear on what a inner child adult, the 5D collective, and as somebody who supports you to be yourself again. So that's clear for me because of the lovely group of therapists who are out there informing you of what it means if you don't know how to love yourself first. Healthy self-worth, empowered men and women know how to love themselves first. That's what makes the empowered counterparts amazing because they don't have an abuse of perception. They know who they are. They know that they can prosper together. They remember that they're all imperfect and flawed and that society can make judgments, but they're not caring. As inner child, empowered adults, call me whatever names you want. I'm going to basically not care. And even if you're part of my family, I'll obviously want to make sure that I'm not disrespecting you. But the fact is, if you insult me because I believe in a different political party or religious thing, I mean, it's not really an insult. I'm used to non-bilaterally integrated brain people. They're called adaptive child parts, which is why I'm not really impressed by the masculine. And my teenage boyfriend is the first story I'm going to use. So soul time, you don't lose it when you got it. And that's why your own divine masculine is your mind integrated brain. Right here. She's right here. And my own body. Yep, it's mine, Mom. You can't spank it. So this is what an inner child adult can tell you, that you don't lose your power if you had a good 3 years of your life. And that those who reclaim their first three, they will know how to work being in functional child adult relationships on purpose because they'll enjoy that. So they enjoy ventral energy. So my teenage boyfriend and I were having what is basically going to be a debate where he has this thing called effective realism going on. Okay, so that's where powerful emotions feel like irrefutable facts. Kristen Lindquist. And he doesn't believe in God or Jesus or Holy Spirit or any of that. And that's what we're discussing. But the thing is, he's making a very specific statement. It's a one that is in his mind. The objective is that there is no God. Evil exists and evil people, because if there was a God, then evil and hurt wouldn't exist. And he's having this conversation because, and this is a trigger alert if you don't like to hear about suicide, because of one of his friends, very close, killed himself. And so he's disappointed, upset at that. He also got cheated on by his girlfriend. And that's where it's funny, though, because he consistently then cheated throughout our relationship in the absence of changing his, MO. Eventually he did, though. He found the right one. And that is something that you all know about, too, which is where I thought we would stay friends, which we didn't for some time. But eventually we were led back to each other, thankfully. And that's because I didn't hold back when my mysticism brought me to have dreams consistently over and over and over again, because the relational and consciousness field is our subconscious unconscious. And when you're an empowered feminine, you will be related and connected, meaning aware of your souls, the people of my oversoul. That's why your twin flame or flames don't send you into anything, because you don't go offline. You're not using your amygdala if you're a 5D mystic. I'm talking 5D is Christ consciousness, let me specify. But really, I should say bilateral, vertical, overall integrated, securely attached body, as I can explain it. So it's an embodied brain that has a person who knows how to stay like this while they're having downloads. It's not hard to do for an inner child adult. So when I began having these dreams, they weren't just dreams, which is why I reached out. And in the times I reached out, there were reasons that were good for her and I to connect. And therefore, our relationship, in fact, was supported, and it was amazing. I mean, I'll never forget, as this other thing happened and I got this other thing, and that is where I found out about you don't lose anything. It's not true that you have to suffer to expand spiritually, enlighten. But there is a balance of matter and energy. And I'm not going to get expanding on this one. That's once we have our mystic community and the tiers that we can have these types of conversations. Because one, I use my own words, but also I want to make sure you know what I'm talking about. And that way we can have, and that's probably going to be more of our spiritual workshops and retreats when we get together. We get to share stories like that. But people have teased my clairs consistently and just said they're just dreams. No, they're not just dreams. But that's something that, as a person who understands why an individual will tease, it's because, like the boyfriend who doesn't believe in God, that it doesn't matter if it's clairs, if it's me reading Akka, it doesn't matter what you're teasing. If you're not a person that comes from that background, I'm going to be able to handle it without being offended, because you're the person who obviously doesn't know that you are making a generalized statement based on your own subjective biases. So, you know, a lot of times you'll see people talking about those of us who are mystics as the snake oil, the charlatans, right? They call us liars. And while, yes, there's a nice now majority of intuitives out there, which is really nice for those of us who can relate, there's a good portion that aren't empowered. But then again, at least our topics have become something that we can integrate with mindfulness, with mindset, okay, which is really great for those of us who are, again, looking forward to coming together. But what I was trying to point out is, as an inner child adult, me and my loved ones and all of the ones who have prior to and will in the future use any words to basically call it bullshit. I don't give a shit. I'm an empowered woman who doesn't care if you're going to use a specific word to basically insult. It's called a stupid brain to a person like me. That's what I'm trying to say. And even if it's close to home, the nice thing about your oversoul is this. I know my oversoul as the empowered feminine. In fact, consistently in the interactions, in the absence of knowing where I was headed, and even in the most quote-unquote infuriating and upsetting of moments, because there were, when I got to break out of the 4D bandwidth. I'll never forget that one, which is explainable by Patrick McNamara, a neuroscientist, as he explains how the decentralization of the self works, and that explanation makes complete sense because I'm attachment trauma informed, interpersonal neurobiology. I know enough about all of this thanks to Dr. Daniel Siegel and my courses. And I go, okay, that's what that was. In the meantime, I had heard of the explanation from an esoteric lady, and it was humorous because as she's explaining it, she's like, and the 4D, we skipped it. I'm like, no, you're it. In fact, the same human being went about their business trying to let people know my subliminal messages are why you can have access to your higher da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, not really, but wow, that's some ego you got going on. So when you meet spiritual bypassers and those who are egoic, it's kind of clear that they're playing God. They're playing, no, not necessarily because they have enough respect, but they're playing a role that isn't theirs to play, meaning they forget that we're all part of the sphere of Akash. So you're not needed for another person to actively be able to connect to their soul. Their soul is, if they believe in it, one, they need a whole sense of self. They need to own their emotional, mental, physical plane, own their brain, own their mind, be in their prefrontal. Once their perception is healed and they're an inner child adult, now we got a person who can know, because they're going to be using their prefrontal and not their amygdala. Versus when you see the 4D collective, they're all in Elsa Journey mantle. That's why I'm trying to help you understand. It's not about the believing. You can use all the words you want. It's about the embodiment. And so for me, when I have downloads, anything, I'm not destabilized. Which is also where, though, I'm not offended if somebody calls me woo-woo, because I respect sciences. It's also why I respect that I can say, yeah, pseudoscience, because I'm integrating shit. I'm just not confusing it. I also don't need to make it sound like it's some kind of, wow, miracle, whatever, you know. Some smart neuroscientists talk about the flow state. It's not supernatural. It's your human makeup. Like the download I got when I got clairs. It's my human makeup. I'm not anointed. I'm not somebody that needs to be talking about my clairs as if there's something special I can do. Yes, I can support a person. If they want to actively enlighten and expand, though, if they don't reclaim their first 3 years of life, they're not going to go that far. Which is what I got to find out in the absence of those who are 4D. It was at a certain point, I'm like, 4D, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but they don't clearly notice that stuff is off. It was once I got attachment trauma informed, I was like, okay, So empowered feminine is always going to be a choice point for those who I will call masculines, and they are distorted feminines. Once a person is an inner child adult, now we have an empowered feminine and empowered masculine who can continue to do mental, emotional, and physical mastery and be a person of integrity, whether they have spirit and soul or not. They're going to be a person in their prefrontal cortex, not leading with the amygdala or their 3-year-old. That's why Robert Sapolsky, even if you were right with the determined and no free will, the IHP community and a good portion of us are going to be in that 5D frequency because we embody ventral energy, because we embody self-empowerment, health, mindfully, all of it. All of that which has become popular. It's not popular, but then again it is, but meaning the information is accessible. So any person who's willing to become their true self will be on that, and they will do it, because the only people who don't notice that they're suffering are the same lack of self-aware people, accountable and regulating, that don't notice that this is not you living life. In the meantime, like with my teenage boyfriend, him and his irrefutable facts, well, the powerful emotions he felt, it didn't make me change. It actually just taught me how I won't ever do that again. So my authentic self is either welcome, then I know it is, and then that's great. And if it's not, it's okay. I won't be budging 1 inch about it. I'll just be learning how that person works, like with my facade friend and who I got in front of me. But they're not going to be dressing me up. Now, the empowered counterparts, that's a whole different story, which is why I'm saying empowered counterparts, they accept that authenticity. They want that authenticity. It's actually what drives their dance, is that they want consistent harmony, and when disharmony happens, they notice it, but because they're dancing together and they're enjoying the dance, it's not going to be disharmony for long. It's going to be a disharmony that creates a harmony that creates an expansion, not even a repair. Because in order for there to have to be repaired, there would have to be a splinter or rupture. And the splinter rupture, like with the teenage boyfriend, that could be considered a splinter rupture. The repair would have been where he says, you know what, it's because of my experiences that I came to you with that. I'm sorry. Or, you know, I know that you have your faith. I have my way of seeing it. We both can agree to disagree. Not even I'm sorry. But essentially being able to be aware of where their bias, and that's why we can all apologize consistently to each other. But the reality is we're going to expand together when we can realize we have different ways of thinking and feeling and talking. And how dare you ask me where I come from is actively not a mature thing to do. And I met that in college. So really, you're going to find immature human beings all over the place. Excuse me, you're confused in science and spirituality. No, I'm not. But hey, I had a good conversation. And I did get curious about what his thoughts were, because that's what happens when you're a compassionately curious person, because you're not trying to prove yourself in a conversation. You're sharing yourself. And so the inner child adult keeps growing up, or once they're inner child adult, then they're gonna know how to do this and have a good time. And so you get to expand, and you keep on coming back for more. I love, and my baby, he loves to dance and he loves to learn, he loves to expand in love and not cast stones. So discernment, yes, and judgment, no, because we don't have the charge, but some people use words differently. So let's just remember, we each have our own vocabulary. Mine is Maria's and yours will be yours. So ask questions if you ever get lost, because seriously, I use words my own way. So thanks for stopping by. Like, share, and subscribe. It'll help the channel grow, and have a good day.